You take a seed, you plant it, you grow it, you dry it, you roll it, you smoke it, and it goes down smooth. Hey!
Spanning the globe to bring you the latest developments in medical cannabis, adult marijuana, industrial hemp, and spiritual ganja. It's time for the Marijuana Agenda with Russ Belville. Now, here's your host, Russ Belville.
Good day, tokers and tokettes and non-toking lovers of liberty. It is Monday, January 22nd, 2018, and it's got to be 420 somewhere in the world. And there's another number in my head these days. What's going on? Another number I'm thinking of. It just can't come to me. What is that number? I'm thinking, God.
Number 9.
Oh, yeah.
Number 9.
That's right.
9.
Today, with the signing of the bill in Vermont, it became the 9th state to legalize marijuana for all adults. Yes, we are number 9 into the books, and this is an exciting day here at the Marijuana Agenda. I had scheduled an interview with Project Sam's Will Jones, the communications director from the nation's leading anti-legalization group. Sad to say, we're having to postpone, because it was kind of a busy day for both of us, a great busy day for me, and probably a lot of fire putting out kind of busy day for Will. But we'll get him on the show here pretty soon. And folks, I'm looking forward to the interview. I really want an earnest and honest discussion of what's going on. I don't want to talk about what we disagree about. I want to see if we can find something to agree on. So looking forward to that. I'll keep you posted on when we'll be able to get that interview on the air. Also, on the show today, we're going to take a look at Vermont and its legalization and some statistics with regards to the marijuana states of America. Also, speaking of Project Sam, we got a poll that they commissioned. The Mason-Dixon polling company did it for them, and it's actually good news for our side, so I'll give you a look into that. Plus, an NBC News Wall Street Journal poll that asked people what they thought the most harmful substance available to people commonly in this country, commonly available substance is most dangerous, and unsurprisingly, marijuana was last in the list, but the rest of the list is quite interesting as well. And also on the show today, at the end, we'll take time for a little radical rant. I'm going to have to get a little personal today because there's a lot of changes going on here at Delta 9 House and Studios and the Marijuana Agenda. And if you haven't seen it over the weekend, the relaunch of the RadicalRuss.com platform. That's right, folks. RadicalRuss.com is back and better than ever as I head into my 6th decade. I'm turning 50 on January 31st. End of this month, I'm turning 50 years old. I started doing this podcast on my 40th birthday, so it'll be my 10-year anniversary.
This is your Cannabis Headline News. Brought to you by MarijuanaMoment.net, the complete source for all your marijuana news in one morning newsletter from Marijuana Majority Founder Tom Angel. Subscribe today for free at MarijuanaMoment.net.
This is your Cannabis Headline News for Monday, January 22nd, 2018. I'm Russ Belville. Vermont is officially the 9th state to legalize marijuana and the first to end cannabis prohibition through an act of lawmakers. Quote, I believe personally that what adults do behind closed doors and on private property is their choice, so long as it does not negatively impact the health and safety of others, especially children, end quote, Republican Governor Phil Scott said in a statement accompanying a legalization bill he signed into law on Monday. Under the legislation's provisions, people over 21 years of age will be allowed to legally possess up to 1 ounce of marijuana and grow as many as 2 mature and 4 immature cannabis plants. Commercial marijuana sales will not be allowed under the new law, which is set to take effect on July 1st. The legislative committee charged with developing regulations for the sale of recreational marijuana in Maine has voted to extend a moratorium on the adult use market until mid-April. The moratorium that's been in place since last year has had little practical effect on the marijuana law voters approved back in 2016. That's because Republican Governor Paul LePage vetoed a bill last fall that would have established licensing standards for the purchase and sale of marijuana. Nevertheless, lawmakers on the Marijuana Implementation Committee voted Friday to extend the moratorium, which expires on February 1st to April 18th. Without a moratorium on sales, some fear the public will be confused into thinking that it's okay to proceed with retail business plans. New York City Mayor Bill de Blasio, Democrat, said he is skeptical of marijuana legalization, but is willing to study it. In an interview with WNYC, de Blasio responded to the fact that New York City still had over 17,000 marijuana arrests last year, a number that was virtually the same as the year prior.
I think it's reached a normal level in the sense of what we were trying to achieve. We said we would end arrests for possession of small amounts of marijuana. The only way you get arrested if you have 25 grams or less of marijuana is if there's something else going on.
De Blasio also suggested that the only way New York City could have fewer than 17,000 annual arrests is if people stopped smoking pot.
So would I like to see the number go down? Sure, I'd like to see the number go down, but that would involve people not committing the original offense to begin with.
Marijuana business owners are increasingly pouring their profits into lobbying lawmakers as they face a federal crackdown from the Trump administration. A USA Today survey found hundreds of thousands of dollars flowing from the cannabis industry into campaign finance accounts of both lawmakers and political action committees, with emphasis this year on congressional Republicans who are trying to stop the Trump administration from targeting marijuana businesses. Combined, medical and recreational marijuana marketplaces across the country are worth a staggering $8 billion, and last year generated at least $2 billion in taxes, said Matt Carnes of cannabis data firm Green Wave Advisors. It's no surprise those businesses want to protect what they've built, experts say. Democrats have typically been the largest recipients of marijuana campaign money in the past, but Republicans are now taking the lead in accepting those donations, according to the Center for Responsive Politics, which analyzed contributions at the request of USA Today. Experts say the recent shift is largely attributable to the belief by marijuana businesses that Republicans who support states' rights are their best allies today. The 24-year-old who's surprised drug war observers by being appointed to a top position at the drug czar's office, quote, just didn't show, end quote, up to work at the law firm he was fired from. While in college late in 2014 or early 2015, Taylor Wyanoff, who began serving as a legal assistant at the New York law firm of O'Dwyer and Bernstein. In a resume initially submitted to the government, Wyanoff said he worked at the firm until April 2016. When an FBI official called as part of a background check in January 2017, the firm said Wyanoff had left 8 months earlier than the resume indicated, O'Dwyer said. A January 14th Washington Post story detailing Wyanoff's rapid rise at the Drug Policy Office, or ONDCP, prompted 10 Democratic senators on Wednesday to write President Trump. The lawmakers, including Senators Maggie Hassan, New Hampshire, and Dianne Feinstein of California, expressed, quote, extreme concern, end quote, about Wyanoff's promotion and unfilled drug policy jobs. This has been your Cannabis Headline News for Monday, January 22nd, 2018. I'm Russ Belville.
You're listening to the Marijuana Agenda with Russ Belville.
Now that California has legalized recreational marijuana, you need to get the latest expertise on the rules and regulations governing this multi-billion-dollar market. The International Cannabis Business Conference is the longest-running event of its kind in California. Join us at the Hyatt Regency San Francisco for the 4th annual ICBC and the first conference in California after legalization. You'll be treated to focused presentations from California's top industry experts, featuring the head of California's Cannabis Commission, Lori Ajax. At the VIP reception, you'll have the chance to meet marijuana legend and new cannabis entrepreneur Tommy Chong. After the conference, you'll be treated to a VIP after-party featuring DJ Muggs from Cypress Hill. It's the International Cannabis Business Conference in San Francisco, February 1st and 2nd at the Hyatt Regency. Visit internationalcbc.com for details. Make sure you log on to internationalcbc.com for your tickets to California's first marijuana business conference under legalization.
The Marijuana Agenda with Russ Belville.
Law enforcement is a part of the answer. It's part of creating a climate of hostility to drug use in America.
Whatever you're smoking, it's not marijuana.
Looking for the 420 friendliest way to visit beautiful legal Potland, Oregon?
I'm Lori Duckworth, inviting you to come stay with us at Delta 9 House and Studios.
You get your own private room with queen bed and access to our high-speed Wi-Fi, premium entertainment system, and more.
We'll even cook you breakfast. Look us up on Facebook at Delta 9 House.
That's facebook.com/Delta9House. Delta 9 House is booked through Airbnb.com. City of Portland permit number 17-159855.
Promoting the end of adult cannabis prohibition is easy because we have facts, science, reason, compassion, evidence, truth, and logic on our side. It's even easier when researchers catalog it all for us. Learn how to gather the facts on marijuana use, arrests, seizures, rehabs, drug tests, and more on this edition of Drug War Data Mining.
Well, today in the Data Mines, we are happy to be welcoming to the club of legal marijuana states the great state of Vermont. Yes, Vermont has joined us as a legal marijuana state. We've got the new map up available here, and you can get this also on the mjagenda.com website for you VIP patrons out there. Remember, you can support this podcast and all the work we do with the Radical Rants, the traveling, and everything else by becoming a patron for as little as $4.20 a month at mjagenda.com. And this graph and the data behind it are available for download to the VIPs who subscribe for $9.95 a month or more. And I regularly post charts, maps, graphs, spreadsheets, data tables, plenty of stuff. So it's well worth the investment. And you help to support this mission of mine to bring politically based cannabis information to the world at large. The podcast is free. Your donation helps keep it free for everyone else. And there are a lot of people depending on it, especially folks. I got a lot of listeners in the blind community, visually impaired folks that are listening. I got people, working class people listening, tremors, all sorts of great listeners. Thank you for making this a great, great experience. So looking at the map, you can see that Vermont has been added to the list of states that have legal marijuana. Now, keep in mind, this is a Washington, D.C. style grow and give legalization. This is where you can grow 2 cannabis plants. Oh my God, 2 whole plants and 4 immature plants, non-budding plants. And that's per household. And I think it's per household. I better double check that. And possess up to 1 ounce, but no sales whatsoever. So we're just going to completely eliminate sales because everybody will just grow their own, or friends will just give it to them for free. So there'll be no more sales in Vermont. Wink. Tell you what, there'll be a whole lot of people crossing that border from Vermont into Massachusetts to go buy weed at legal pot shops. It's not much of a drive from anywhere in Vermont to anywhere in Massachusetts, especially if you grew up in Idaho or Texas or Alaska. So anyway, we've got legal marijuana now, and the big thing about this is it being legal marijuana through a legislative action rather than a citizen initiative. Now, we always knew we'd be able to win the citizens initiatives because the people are way ahead of the politicians. But passing this through legislature in Vermont gives clear signal to politicians all across the country, gubernatorial races, state houses, that, look, marijuana's here to stay, not just medical, but legalized marijuana is coming. So you're going to have to finally address this issue, and you're going to have to finally recognize the rights we all inalienably have to this plant. Now, we also have some data tables behind that. You can find those at mjagenda.com as well. And I've collected data on all 50 states and D.C. on medical, industrial, CBD only, decriminalization. What year did it pass? How much did it pass by? How much plant allowance? How much possession allowance? What qualifying conditions? It's all in this spreadsheet, folks. I've been collecting this for over 10 years with hyperlinks. You can link back to the original information. That's the kind of stuff available for VIPs. Here's just a sample of it up on the screen right here. And what you can see, and I think this is an important number on the bottom there, is how 21% of the U.S. population now lives where marijuana is legal for all adults. It's been about 20%. Vermont's tipped at just over 21%. Of the people in America living in a state where marijuana is legal. The news is fantastic. And again, my apologies to learn about Sam or Project Sam's Will Jones. We'll get him on the air again sometime soon. But both of us very, very busy with this new information. Speaking of Project Sam, I did want to bring up a poll that they had commissioned because they made a big deal about this poll. And the idea behind the poll was that they've always complained that when we're getting 60% for legalization in these polls, it's because 60 to 64%, right? And the reason that it's happening, they complain, is because we're offering people just 2 choices. You just get the choice of make marijuana legal and have pot shops and all the stuff that comes with that, or keep it illegal just the way it is and lock people up and ruin their lives, right? They say we offer other options, like do they support medical? Do they support, decriminalization without pot stores, right? We can still bust growers, just, not people that are using. So they commissioned this poll through Mason-Dixon, and they got their answers about this, about legalization. And what they found was that the opposition to legalization isn't as great as they'd like to think. It's only 16% that are showing opposition to legalization in their poll, and the vast majority wanting some sort of federal change. But there was another poll that was interesting to me. NBC News and Wall Street Journal came out with this poll that asked people about whether or not they wanted legalization with commercial outlets. Right? They're specifically saying, do you going to have legalization with pot shops? And they broke it down in an interesting way. And let me show you the results on this. It says you could answer, if your state legalized marijuana for adults with retail outlets, would you, A, oppose the legalization and actively work to overturn it? This is your hardcore base, the Project Sam type people. Pot's bad. We've got to overturn it. The next choice was oppose commercial legalization, but not actively trying to overturn it. It's like, yeah, I'm against it, but whatever, right? Those kind of people, the kind of people that don't like pot or potheads, but it's not their biggest issue and they're not going to waste a lot of time on it. Then there's a sliver of people that were undecided. Then you had people who favor commercial legalization, but not actively supporting it, right? Like, yeah, it should be legal, but it's not my thing. I don't smoke pot. I don't care. And then the final group actively support commercial legalization. People like you and me that really care. There's a big issue we care about. We will vote for it. We'll turn out for it, right? So NBC News, Wall Street Journal did this poll back in 2014, and they just redid it here in 2018. So we got a 4-year gap here. And what we found is that the people who favor commercial legalization with pot shops explicitly in the question was 55% of the people back in 2014, and now it's 60. The same kind of 60 we get in all the polls that give us the results we've seen from Gallup and Pew and so forth. And better, the people who actively support it, the hardcore base, has increased from 24 to 31%. And on the other side of the bar graph, the people who oppose it and actively work to overturn it, the Project Sam, the modern-day puritanical prudes, have shrunk from 19% to 14%. Love this poll. And one more piece from this poll that's also quite telling. And this got a lot of news the first time it came out. Back in 2014, and they didn't lead with it. Or some news organizations led with this. But when they released it, it's the poll question asking, of these substances, I'm going to list 4 substances for you, and you tell me which one's the most harmful. Alcohol, tobacco, marijuana, and sugar. 4 substances that are very popular in America that anybody can get. Almost everyone has had some experience with it. And what they found, once again, is that marijuana came in 4th. Marijuana was found to be less harmful than sugar by the people they asked in the polls. And it's an interesting trend because, again, this was 2014 and now they've asked it in 2018. Tobacco, the order hasn't changed. Tobacco, alcohol, sugar, marijuana. That's the way most people see it. But what's interesting to me is that alcohol hasn't budged, really. Alcohol stayed in second place with about a quarter of the people who say it's the most harmful substance. But tobacco's gone down and sugar's gone up. That's interesting to me. Sugar has gone up in the most recent poll. It went from 15% to 21%. And it's only 24% that think alcohol is the most harmful. So now, in 2018, the general public is about split on what's more harmful, alcohol or sugar. Very interesting poll numbers. Tobacco's still over 40%, right? Now, marijuana did increase by 1 point. Went from 8 points to 9 points. Ooh, scary. But I think it's instructive to note that at 9 points with sugar at 21, half the people who think, fewer people, 1/2 the people who think substances are harmful are going to pick marijuana over sugar. So it's about time that we start changing our laws to match this. And Democrats, if you're listening out there, the Republicans are going to steal this issue from you. I've been warning you about this for 10 years now, and I'm finally starting to see the signs of it happening with these bills being signed.
Ain't just me, by the way. I don't see you doing any better in the booty department.
You know, ever since he's left office, Mr. Obama has really let loose, hasn't he? Unbuttoned his shirt, showing off a little chest. Oh, boy. Hey, we got to take a break because it's 20 after the hour, and you know what that means. Union-mandated safety briefing. When we return from the anti-drug public service announcement of the day, I'll have some personal news about the marijuana agenda and the radical rants. If you work in the cannabis industry, consume marijuana, or just support freedom, you need to know about breaking policy news that affects you. Marijuana Moment is the daily newsletter that helps you stay on top of all the latest and most important state, federal, and international cannabis developments. Brought to you by longtime legalization activist Tom Angel, Marijuana Moment puts a concise yet comprehensive overview of cannabis news in your inbox early every weekday morning. Wake up to Marijuana Moment and rest assured you'll be ready for the cannabis news that's driving the day. Subscribe now at marijuanamoment.net.
The marijuana agenda. Like the liberal agenda, but with profits. Ka-ching. The Marijuana Agenda is a listener-supported independent podcast brought to you by Radical Russ Media, LLC. Subscribe to our VIP feed at mjagenda.com for access to our ad-free podcast segment archive. Make a one-time donation to support the Marijuana Agenda at paypal.me/radicalruss. Now, in the interest of fair and balanced journalism, the Marijuana Agenda presents this anti-drug public service announcement.
This is the brain activity of a normal 14-year-old. This is the brain activity of a 14-year-old after smoking marijuana. If you use pot, you're not using your brain.
This has been an actual anti-drug public service announcement. To combat this and other drug war hysteria, listen to the Marijuana Agenda every weekday at 3 p.m. Pacific at live.mjagenda.com or download the free podcast at mjagenda.com.
Hey everybody, it's Russ Belville from the Marijuana Agenda, inviting you to be like me and get your ink done at Lucky Horseshoe Tattoo, Fort Worth's most female-friendly, clean, sterile, awesome tattoo shop. Thomas and his crew are true artists who can design you a custom piece or use a design you bring in. Lucky Horseshoe also offers all styles of tattooing as well as piercings and all-around fun. In the DFW area, stop by Lucky Horseshoe Tattoo and tell them Radical Russ sent you. Trust me, it'll feel awesome.
You're not high. You're listening to the Marijuana Agenda with Russ Belville.
This is high-purity THC content marijuana, and it's not a healthy substance.
Okay, maybe you're a little high.
New beginner guitars and banjos are often constructed much better than ones built before your time. Why struggle? Get a new instrument or fix the old one. The trusted professionals at the Fingerboard Extension will evaluate your instrument for free. Repairs are priced for people who work for a living. Stop by the Fingerboard Extension downtown Corvallis at 120 Northwest 2nd Street today, or check out its inventory on the web at fingerboardextension.com.
Total war against public enemy number one.
10 federal criminal penalties for up to 1 ounce of marijuana.
Marijuana is probably the most dangerous drug.
Legalization is just another word for surrender.
I experimented with marijuana and didn't inhale.
This is not medicine. This is a Cheech and Chong show.
Encourage people to use less drugs.
I inhaled. That was the point.
I think it would be a mistake to legalize.
Negative reports coming out of Colorado.
People don't smoke marijuana.
Radical Rants.
Well, today in the rant, I got to let you in on a few things that have been happening in my world because it's shaking things up here at the Marijuana Agenda. Don't panic. We're staying on the air. We're not moving. Everything's cool, right? But there has been some changes. And some of you may have already noticed that my Radical Rant column hasn't been published up on High Times in the last couple of weeks. And the reason why is because they're not publishing my column anymore. Yeah, it's kind of a bummer. They've been going through a lot of changes, a lot of buyouts, putting in new people, taking out old people, and I'm one of those old ones that got taken out. And it's not a acrimonious thing either. They've invited me to keep contributing, but they want now freelance pieces, which is a whole process of pitching and asking and learning. It's back and forth. It's a big hassle. And it's not a column. A column is a different thing. I'm pretty much a columnist now, right? So I've decided that I'm going to take that column, the Radical Rants, and return to my roots. When I first came here to Oregon, coming from Idaho, I wasn't a activist per se, but I was writing quite a bit. I've been writing online as Radical Russ since 1996. I predate internet, social media and stuff. This was like email listservs and such. And I was involved as what I used to call a red state radical back in the day. And by the way, this Radical Russ name has been with me since 7th grade. So there's no huge political overtone to it, but just something that stuck with me since 7th grade. Anyway, I was a red state radical in Idaho as I wrote on this particular listserv back and forth discussing politics. And that evolved by 2003 to become a radicalruss.com blog that I'd put together, which was my views on the drug war and politics and society and music and art and all that kind of stuff. Just everything I thought of, right? So it was when I moved to Oregon in 2003 and then in 2005 got involved with Oregon Normal. Part of the way that hookup happened is the associate director at that time, a woman named Anna Diaz, was a reader of my radicalruss.com blog and loved that blog. And so she kind of knew me through that and then introduced me to Madeline Martinez, the executive director. And boom, that was my springboard. And from there have, gone on to all the things I've done over the past dozen, now almost 13 years in marijuana activism. And in doing so, kind of sprang away from the Radical Russ, more holistic Russ, right? With all the politics and the sports and music and all the other things that I'm interested in, laser focused on marijuana. So now the radicalruss.com blog is back. If you go to radicalruss.com, you'll see a caricature of me in a covered wagon with a bong and a microphone. And I'm going back to my roots, and that is where marijuana is certainly my primary focus. And for this show will remain the primary focus. For the rest of my world, the rest of my life, there's a lot of other things I'm interested in. So if you go to that blog now, you'll find my most recent Radical Rants, as well as just blog posts and images and graphs and all sorts of stuff that I post from time to time. And you can actually get the podcast from radicalruss.com. You can get the live stream window at radicalruss.com as well. And I'm still working on the site. I got to throw in more links to the YouTube pages and such, but it'll all be there. You'll find social media links and all that kind of stuff coming up there as well. So radicalruss.com will be the new home of the Radical Rants, at least 2 a week, just like I did with High Times. And to add insult to injury, Huffington Post has discontinued its contributor platform. That was the platform I was a blogger on, where from time to time I'd get stuff promoted up onto the Huffington Post, and now that's gone too. So I'll have plenty of writing time, and we're going to put it into the radicalruss.com blog. And that brings me to part 2, which is the Marijuana Agenda podcast. The other thing that I desperately need to write is a book. I've been talking about it for a long, long time. And the problem is always that I am always traveling somewhere to do a show or preparing and doing this show or working. And I've never gotten around to the book. So I think it's time to get around to the book. And as I'm approaching 50, and having done over 2,000 daily podcast episodes in my 10-year career now, I think I need to ratchet it back a bit. I know I ratcheted it back to doing a 1-hour daily show, but I think now I'm going to ratchet it back a little bit further and make this a weekly program. Starting in February, I guess February 7th would be the first, we will be doing this podcast live on Wednesdays, but we are going to increase the length of time. I'm going to do the 3 to 5,
with Toker Talk Radio as the second hour, just like the old days, where we'll let it loose a little bit and chat and bring back the live calls, too. So the old type of show is coming back in a sense, but we're only going to do it once a week because I'm getting old. I'm getting tired, and I want to make sure I can bring you the best of everything that's happening. So, and nowadays, too, there's so many outlets out there. When I started podcasting for Normal in 2008, people hardly even knew what a podcast was. Now it seems like everyone has one. So there's plenty of outlets out there, plenty of websites to get the news and the information. I promote some of them like marijuanamoment.net. So I'm going to ratchet it back to doing a weekly show, make it as much more audio clips, because over the week I can collect more of these audio clips to go over, more data presentations, more different interviews, the kind of stuff I can, if I have some more time, I can set them up. We'll work on doing a quality show every week. So I hope you stay with me. And to those of you who are VIP subscribers and donators out at Patreon, if that, I'm kind of changing the terms of what I'm doing. So I understand if you're disappointed, and I hope you'll stay with us. I hope that we can continue to grow the audience, grow this movement, this politically aware pot movement, right? That's part of what I like to try to bring to this show. You know, it's going through on Twitter just the other hour, and somebody had tweeted something about sarcastically saying pot makes you believe in paranoid fantasies. And I said, well, pot made me believe in democracy. I tell you, pot made me believe in democracy. Every time someone tells me that they don't believe in voting doesn't make any difference, voting doesn't mean anything, it doesn't matter, you can't never change anything, I just pick up a legal bud, put it in my bowl, I say, tell me more about how democracy doesn't change anything. Well, that's all the time we got for today. Thanks for joining us. Back tomorrow with more news you can use. And until next time, take care of each other, tokers.
Follow MJ Agenda on Facebook, Pinterest, Instagram, YouTube, and follow MJ Agenda Show on Twitter. Learn more at mjagenda.com.
You take a seed, you plant it, you grow it, you dry it, you roll it, you smoke it. You take a seed, you plant it, you grow it, you dry it, you roll it, you smoke it. You take a seed, you plant it, you grow it, you dry it, you roll it, you smoke it, and it goes down smooth.